Today on New England Living, what drives one of the biggest names in all of golf? We'll go behind the scenes for a special tour of one of the game's biggest brands. And we'll visit a community of artists dedicated to their craft and to each other. Plus, a Boston-based hat shop inspiring customers to express themselves through wearable works of art. It all starts right now on New England Living. New England is full of adventure. I can't believe you guys are letting me do this.
Up and away.
Look at that. Oh, you just did your first takeoff.
Join me as we discover the people and places that make us so unique.
This is it. You can't find it anywhere else in North America.
I mean, does it get any better than this? Love the place you call home with New England Living. Thanks for joining us today on New England Living. I'm your host, Rachel Holt. First on the tee box, we're heading out to New Bedford for an inside look at a global golf brand born and based right here in Massachusetts. According to Vice President of Golf Ball Operations Kevin Corando, the idea for Titleist all started in 1932 after a missed putt.
Our founder, Phil Young, was playing a round of golf at one of the local golf courses. He struck a putt that he felt was struck perfect, and he missed the putt. He was golfing with a friend of his, a dentist. So they took the golf ball back to the dental office, they x-rayed it, and they said that center is not where it needs to be. And that's really how it all started. And in 1935, we introduced the first Titleist branded golf ball and never looked back. It was history in the making.
That's funny because when I miss a putt, I like to blame the golf ball too.
You're not going to blame it on this golf ball.
What does this do for the area?
We're the largest employer of a manufacturing operation in the greater New Bedford area. All of our resources are located within a 15-mile radius. We have over 1,300 associates in all of our facilities that are located here in southeastern Mass. There's a lot of history, there's a lot of family stories. My dad worked for the company for 44 years before I started here at Acushnet Company. I have 31 years. We're all very proud of this brand. We believe in what we're doing, the quality that we put into it, and it's just a passion for what we do.
The Titleist golf ball plant in New Bedford is home to the world-famous Pro V1 and Pro V1X, manufacturing over 300,000 balls a day. What goes into making the #1 ball in golf?
It all starts out with the mix. From mix, we have to extrude into something that we can actually mold that into a core. Then we bring that on to our cast urethane process, where we put our proprietary urethane cast cover over the ball. Then naturally, it goes in for our stamping. We brand it, paint it, and then as always, as we've done historically, we finish with our X-ray process. That X-ray process was instituted back in 1935 when Phil Young was here to ensure the quality of the product, quality of the placement of that center and core within the ball, and we do that today.
And I get to go inside and see what that's all about.
Absolutely.
For that, we met with tour guide Patty Sands. Okay, this is where it all happens. This is where the golf balls are made. What is the first step in the process?
The first step in the process where we are right now is our mixing operation. We're gravity feeding the polybutadiene rubber grades and other activators to make the core material for our golf ball. So as you can see, coming out of the extruder at the base is the material that's happening, and this is the material we have right now.
Squishy.
Right.
Hard to believe that this is going to be a golf ball.
Eventually that will end up being a golf ball.
Wow. It all starts with a mix, then onto extrusion where things really start taking shape.
After we've made this prep at extrusion, we're at core presses where we're going to load it with the preps to make our core of our golf ball.
Now we're looking like a golf ball.
Exactly, and you can bounce it.
Extruded blanks are then compression molded into cores, which are then ready to move on to the final stages of the process.
So here we are, Rachel, at the end of our manufacturing process. Our golf ball is completed. Beginning where we had that small piece of rubber at our mixing operation to our final step of our X-ray of our golf ball, making the #1 ball in golf.
There you have it. But before any Titleist golf balls are mass-produced, prototypes are made and tested at their research and testing facility in Acushnet, where Rich DiPrato helps collect and pass data onto the team's engineers. As far as the layout, what goes on in the different areas in this facility?
We own 152 acres here. There's 21 acres inside the fences and about 11 acres of turf that we have to manage. Where we're walking now is the testing fairway, and we have this very large flat putting green that we built in 2016. The fairway adjacent to us is where they do the golf ball fittings and golf club fittings. What began as an R&D proving ground has evolved into a multi-purpose facility.
At the heart of their testing and research is a robot, built to replicate the exact same shot over and over again. This robot will make you feel really bad about yourself if you're a golfer. It's hitting this ball perfectly every time. What are you looking for?
If we're at the prototype stage in golf ball research, we're looking at the differences between constructions. What was the spin difference? What was the launch angle difference? Was there a speed difference? Things like that. We take other measurements, for example, how high did the ball fly and where did it reach its peak height? We also measure carry, how far the ball flew, and then how far the ball rolled out. If we're studying our golf balls from manufacturing, we're looking at kind of a quality sense of things. Like, is it consistent from month to month? When we look at spin rate, when we look at ball speed, when we look at launch angle, are they staying consistent as we test them? We also spend a bunch of times testing competitive product. We want to see what our competitors are doing, how we benchmark with them, how they're improving perhaps, and what we can possibly learn from them.
In addition to the robots, you have live golfers here. What are you looking for when they hit a golf ball?
We look at how they're delivering the club head, we look at how the golf ball is performing, and we put that in a database, and then we mine it later on. So we want to know how the game of golf is being played, so we can design and test golf balls around how golf is being played.
I noticed you were taking golf balls out of what looks like a refrigerator, so what's the story behind that?
Yeah, it's not really a refrigerator, it's what we call an incubator, where we condition golf balls. The materials that golf balls are made of are very susceptible to temperature changes. For example, if a golf ball gets cold, if you're playing golf in the wintertime, you're going to lose some ball speed, you're going to lose a little bit of spin. So a good tip is to keep your golf balls in your pocket and don't leave your clubs in the trunk of your car, because temperature will affect how a golf ball performs.
You grew up here, you live here, you work here. What has this company been able to do for the area?
There's so many people from Greater New Bedford that work here and provide for their families for generations. We know people we grew up with, we went to school with, we'll run into in manufacturing. I feel blessed to have worked here 27 years. To see things come from prototype stage to being aired on the PGA show, and next thing you know, the factory worker and the R&D technician who hits these golf balls out here on Sunday afternoon, they tune in and they see Titleist golf balls being played on the PGA Tour.
Coming up after the break, we'll visit one of the largest independent artist communities in America, based right here in Massachusetts, when New England Living returns after this. Welcome back to New England Living. I'm Rachel Holt. Up next, we're heading to Lowell to visit the art and soul of the Mill City. Jim Grace is the executive director of the Arts and Business Council of Greater Boston, the group responsible for preserving Western Avenue Studios. This is one of the largest independent artist communities in the entire country. What is the environment like here?
These are really small businesses, and so you can have a creative community that some people want to just be left alone, other people want to do open studios, other people are doing work in collaboration with other artists in the building or the greater community. So that's the beauty of it, is it's a living organism in many ways of creative professionals. The ability to preserve spaces where art is made, not just seen, is part of our mission at the Arts and Business Council. This really goes back to the legacy of the founder of Western Ave Studios, Carl Frey. He really built this so that it would be permanently affordable, and we partnered with him to make that happen. We've been losing these kind of industrial places where art is made for the past 20 or 30 years. And so the ability to preserve this as a safe, affordable space for the arts is fantastic.
Tell me about the different artists that we can find here.
It runs the gamut. This is truly a workspace. So of 375 artists, there are crafts, there's fine art, photography, ceramics, steel, jewelry. We have artists doing all types of mediums here.
And this is open to the public, so people are encouraged to come in here and take a look around, right?
The first Saturday of every month is open studios, so yes, the public is welcome to come and meet the artists and come to their studios. We hope you meet interesting people and fall in love with an artist and hopefully support their practice.
Queen Alote Papo is an entrepreneur and designer who has used her studio space to start her own fashion brand. You've been here 5 years. What does this space offer you as a designer?
For a creative like myself, offers that community, that creative community, which is like really hard to come by. From having people to bounce ideas off, also getting people to just inspire you to even go beyond what you have to offer, and then just having a place where you have contemporaries who can kind of cheer you on is a great space to have and to be in.
The colors, the patterns, they're also fun. Tell us about Queen Adeline.
Queen Adeline is a sustainable fashion studio brand that creates wearable art for the woman on the go. I'm designing for my African heritage. I come from Ghana, where you would go to the market and you would see these women very vibrantly dressed. I just went back to that inspiration of that market woman back home in Ghana.
This is all wearable art. What goes into the design?
So for me, the fabric always tells a story, and so it always starts with the fabric. The textile tells you what I want to be. I want to be a shirt, I want to be a gown, I want to be a stole, like whatever the print and the textile tells you, that's where we begin. The main focus for me is it needs to be functional, wearable art. And so as I get carried away with all the possibilities of that textile, I just always bring myself back to basic. I want this person to be able to wear this every day and to feel like it's fully functional.
For you, what do you love the most about having your own clothing brand?
Most importantly, the fact that I am able to offer people a piece of that joy I have, to be able to go out there, to be themselves, to express themselves fully through colors, through clothing. It's a very big part of what I do. It's not fast fashion that's going to be discarded, but it's something that's going to be part of their memories, brings me joy, and I'm more than happy to pass on that joy to the next owner of that piece.
Another one of Western Avenue's thriving artists is Bill Hecht, founder and creator of the Robotorium. The fact that this is open to the public and people are encouraged to take a walk through and poke their head in and see you at work, what does that offer you as an artist?
It allows you to engage people about your work. And the fact that Western Ave is open every month, and every month you get to meet people to come in and talk about your art and just get to look at their reactions when they see what you do is really kind of fun. I just enjoy engaging people about art and talking to them about both what I do and what people in this building do. Art is something people do because of their passion. They're driven by something that it's very hard to quantify in words, why you do this. And to be able to have not only a space that's affordable, but a space where you're surrounded by almost 300 other artists is not only like a gift, but it's informative to the work that you do.
Yours is definitely very unique. How did you get into robots?
As a child, I envisioned a future where I'd be surrounded by robots. So effectively what I decided to do was just build the future that I thought I would have, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I mean, these definitely have an aesthetic of somewhere between mid-century modern, probably most of the material I use is somewhere between the 40s and 70s, and that drives its aesthetic appearance. Mostly it's old test equipment, and there's something that resonates with me about the kind of mad scientist thing.
They are also different. They all have different names. What is the design process like?
I'll find a piece that I like and say, that's a body. From there, it's just taking everything else I have and seeing what works. Sometimes a lot of the creative process is just sitting at the bench, taking one piece and sticking it on, and another one and putting it on and seeing if they'll work together. There's a lot of thought and effort and energy goes into just how to make it a uniform whole based on what that piece is telling me.
What is it like being surrounded by other artists as you're creating your artwork?
I don't want this to sound trite, but it's magical. It really is magical. I mean, they're opening, they're welcoming. Everybody wants to know everybody here, and everybody has taken a different path to becoming an artist. And learning about those backgrounds and learning about why that they're here is just, it's wonderful. I mean, this whole community is just I don't know, it's just amazing. I kind of run out of superlatives. It's fantastic. It's just the people in this building are open, they are collaborative, they are dedicated to both their craft, but they're also dedicated to advancing the craft of the people around them. It's really just wonderful.
Coming up next, part fashion, part function, we're keeping our artistic juices flowing with a visit to a world-renowned hat shop offering up a bit of style and personality. When New England Living returns after this. Welcome back to New England Living. Up next, we're heading to Jamaica Plain to visit a first-of-its-kind hat shop where fashion meets fun. Husband and wife team Justin Fitzpatrick and Andrea Rapagnola are co-founders and owners of Salmagundi. There are hats covering every inch of this store. Give me an idea of how many hats we can find here.
We roughly have about 12,000 hats at all times.
We have the largest, most diverse selection in New England, but it's because we have all the many different styles, and no hat stores do that. We try to have different moods, different colorways, different prices to try to match everybody that comes in here.
We try to really maintain truly something for everybody.
The name Salmagundi, where does that come from?
Salmagundi is rooted in a French word, salmagundis, which meant an indisparate mix of people or ideas forming an incoherent whole. And then in modern day English, as of like 1670 on, it means like a mix of things or an antipasto. We were the first hat store in America to mix men's and women's styles 50-50 in one place.
And we wanted to make something that seemed familiar to people. A lot of times we'd have people come in and say, oh, this reminds me of where I'm from.
It's the vibe, it's the experience. Salmagundi's a hat store, but it's also this experience we provide.
Every hat in here has a name. How do you go about naming the hats?
A lot of times it's the shapes of the hats, the materials of the hats, the mood of the hat.
A lot of the basics we'll name, like the pork pie, the diamond, if it's like the traditional shape of the shape.
Right, because you've got a piece of history there.
Right.
And then you'll have pieces like we designed a hat called the Banks. It's kind of old school, it's kind of stately. It's definitely a pinch front fedora with a lower crown and a wider brim, but the Banks just had like a nice little ring to it. Irish tweeds, for example,
Gonna be Irish names generally.
The Mac is like this really slim ivy cap. It's a 6-panel, a little longer. The Veer is a super duper lean cap. The way we did the seams, the whole word sounds lean. It's a fun process. It's like naming children.
What are some of those accents you can add to a hat to spice it up a little bit?
It starts with the brim. If you're in a brimmed hat, you could wear your brim up, you could wear your brim down, I can flatten the brim. And then you think about trim, and there's ways where we can change the trim on the spot. We can put like pleats on there, add color, leather roping, feathers. I mean, you could dress a hat up quick. A lot of times you can just have a lot of fun right on the spot.
You can obviously buy a hat here in any color, pretty much any style. What other services do you offer?
The thing that makes us unique is service. Everyone who works here, not just us, knows what can be done with the hat. It can be changed in shape to accommodate your head shape. If you find that your crown is too high, I can lower that crown. I can repress your brim. If you didn't want your hair directly on like a felt per se, I could throw a lining in.
And with the basics, like we can make it fit properly.
We can make it fit.
That a lot of the time is a challenge
People
for folks,
settle,
you know?
and then you shouldn't settle.
You really are a matchmaking service.
Yeah, it's a matchmaking
For sure.
Totally.
As far as the restoration workshop here, what goes on there?
We've been restoring hats for many, many years, and it's always a complicated process because some people have family heirlooms, and there's not many of us left doing it in this country, and we're proud of the work we do.
In both of your locations, you have really unique cap bars. What is that?
I always tell customers when I'm giving them the initial tour that it's like a bar, but with caps. I'll go down the whole cap bar to see what they're drawn to, and then I'll keep building on that. It's like an eye exam. Once I get that answer, I can keep going further and further. And the cap bars are pretty deep, and they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of caps. We hand measure every single hat in the store, and then I can almost skip a step, try a hat on somebody, which I think might look good, and I can probably either size anyway, because a good hatter usually can, and then boom, you just have them having no hat, and then they have a hat that fits them and they look killer.
We also have a hot block back there, which heats up to like 300 degrees. So if someone's like, this is just a little bit tight, we can push it a little bit.
In the hat world, it's steam and heat. Up here, we can make almost anything happen with steam and heat. We have a workshop in our lower level, and in the workshop, I can really make significant alterations. If I wanted to change the curvature of the brim, the snap of the brim, I would need a flange. If they really had their heart set in a hat and the brim was too big, I can cut the brim down. I can repress any hat to be a different crown shape.
Someone comes in here, they leave with a hat, they're feeling better, they're looking better, you're changing their confidence. What is that feeling like for you?
It's cool. It brings out a specific part of your personality. I think it allows you to express yourself in a way that's a little different, you know, especially because you had choices, you had different styles, and you were able to find the one that was right for you.
So hypothetically, someone walks in this store, they're dying to try on all the hats. I'm asking for a friend. What's the first step?
The first thing, we would look at you and see kind of your general style and try to figure out your size, and then we would take a go at like sizing you.
I knew what I wanted to put on you when you walked in, and I already discussed it with him, so.
So this is it?
So we got
Yeah.
it, yeah. We'll see what happens. So this is an asymmetrical brim, so it's cut shorter on one side and longer on the other, so it's a little casual. It's got a little bit of wave to it, playing off of your hair, casual.
Okay, I love this. I'm feeling really good, but in this store, I can't just try on one hat, right?
We'll try on a couple different styles and you see what you think.
All right, let's go.
All right. I think that there's a romance to having a hat made for you, and essentially when we designed those hats, we did think of you. When you can get people to really light up in the right style, it's infectious.
Welcome back to the show. It's time now to go around New England with your New England Chevy dealers. We're heading up to the White Mountains to Epsom, New Hampshire, where Getaway Blakebrook Cabins offer an escape to nature. Less than 2 hours from Boston and set on 49 private acres of serene forest land, you'll find 42 quaint and uniquely designed cabins. From the outside, they may look tiny, but on the inside, they have all of the amenities that make a night in the woods much more comfortable and glamorous. Each cabin sports a bevy of modern amenities and all the gear you need to cook a meal outside over the fire pit. Whether you're into fishing, hiking, or just sitting by an open campfire, this unique camping excursion offers visitors a much-needed chance to unplug and unwind, surrounded by the beauty of nature. Thanks for joining us today on New England Living. For more on the show or anything you've seen here today, visit us at newenglandliving.tv and follow us on social media. I'm Rachel Holt. See you next time on New England Living.